The doorbell rang at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember the time because I was pulling chocolate chip cookies from the oven, and the timer still had 3 minutes left. My daughter Maya was doing homework at the kitchen table. My son Lucas was building a Lego castle in the living room. The house smelled like butter and sugar and childhood. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door. A woman in a gray pantsuit stood on my porch. She had a badge clipped to her belt and a leather folder in her hands. Behind her stood a police officer in full uniform. My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step in the dark. "Mrs. Reeves?" the woman asked. Her voice was professional, carefully neutral. "Yes." My voice came out smaller than I intended. "I'm Amanda Pierce from Child Protective Services. This is Officer Daniels. We received a report of concern regarding your children. May we come in?" The world tilted slightly. CPS. Someone had called CPS on me. My hands started trembling, so I gripped the doorframe harder. Behind me, Maya looked up from her math worksheet. Her eyes went wide with that specific childhood fear when adults start acting strange. "Of course," I whispered, stepping aside. They walked into my home like investigators at a crime scene. Amanda's eyes swept across the living room, taking inventory. Clean carpet. Toys organized in bins. Family photos on the walls. Lucas froze mid-Lego placement, staring at the strangers invading his safe space. Officer Daniels stayed near the door, his expression unreadable. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair showing gray at the temples. Something about his face seemed familiar, but my brain was too flooded with panic to place it. "Mrs. Reeves, we received a report alleging that your children are being denied adequate nutrition," Amanda said, pulling out a notepad. "The caller stated that your children appear malnourished and that you've been observed withholding food as punishment." My mouth went dry. That's insane. That's completely insane. Who said that? I can't disclose the caller's identity at this time. But I already knew. There was only one person who hated me enough to do this. One person who had been waiting for the perfect opportunity to destroy me. My mother-in-law, Patricia Reeves. "Can I see your children, please?" Amanda asked. "Maya, Lucas, come here, sweethearts," I called, trying to keep my voice steady. My children walked over slowly. Maya was 10, tall for her age, with her father's dark curls and my green eyes. Lucas was 7, smaller and quieter, with freckles scattered across his nose. Both of them looked healthy. Their cheeks were round. Their eyes were bright. They were wearing clean clothes that fit properly. Amanda knelt down to their level. "Hi there. I'm Ms. Pierce. I just want to ask you some questions, okay? You're not in any trouble." Maya nodded, but her hand found mine and squeezed tight. "When was the last time you ate?" Amanda asked gently. "We had grilled cheese and tomato soup for lunch," Lucas said. "And apple slices. Mom always cuts them into rabbits." "Do you get enough food at home?" "Yes," Maya said firmly. "Mom makes us breakfast, packs our lunches, and we have family dinner every night. She's a really good cook." Amanda wrote notes. "Does your mom ever not let you eat? As punishment, maybe?" Both kids shook their heads vigorously. "Never," Maya said. "That would be mean." I wanted to collapse with relief, but Officer Daniels was staring at me now. Really staring. His expression had shifted from neutral to something else. Recognition. "Ms. Pierce," Officer Daniels said suddenly, "may I speak with you privately for a moment?" Amanda looked surprised but nodded. They stepped into the hallway just outside my door, speaking in low voices I couldn't hear. Through the window, I watched them. Amanda's posture changed. She looked confused, then shocked, then something close to angry. When they came back inside, Amanda's entire demeanor had shifted. "Mrs. Reeves, I apologize for the intrusion," she said carefully. "Based on my initial assessment, your children appear healthy and well cared for. However, protocol requires that I do a brief home inspection and take some photographs. Is that acceptable?" "Yes, of course. Whatever you need." She walked through the house methodically. She opened the refrigerator, which was fully stocked with fresh vegetables, milk, eggs, chicken, and the leftover lasagna from Sunday. She checked the pantry, filled with pasta, rice, canned goods, and snacks. She photographed the kids' bedrooms, clean with made beds and shelves of books. She looked in the bathroom cabinets. Everything was in order. Officer Daniels followed silently, watching everything. That look of recognition hadn't left his face. It was making my skin prickle. "Mrs. Reeves, can you tell me about your relationship with your extended family?" Amanda asked, returning to the living room. I swallowed hard. "My husband died 2 years ago. Car accident. His mother, Patricia, has never forgiven me for it. She blames me because I asked him to pick up milk on his way home that night. She thinks if he'd driven straight home, he would have missed the drunk driver." My voice cracked. Maya's hand tightened around mine again. "Patricia has been trying to get custody of my kids since the funeral," I continued. "She's wealthy. She hired expensive lawyers. She told the judge I was an unfit mother because I had to go back to work. I'm a nurse. I work 3 12-hour shifts a week so I can be home the other 4 days. The judge dismissed her case 6 months ago. And you believe Patricia made this report?" "I know she did. Last week, she came to Maya's school play. Afterward, she made a huge scene because I wouldn't let her take the kids for the weekend. She screamed that I was poisoning them against her. She said I'd regret keeping her grandchildren from her." Amanda wrote quickly. Officer Daniels cleared his throat. "Ms. Pierce, may I?" Officer Daniels gestured toward me. Amanda nodded, looking increasingly uncomfortable. He stepped forward, and suddenly I saw it. The shape of his jaw. The way his left eyebrow had that small scar cutting through it. My breath caught. "Autumn," he said softly. "Autumn Chin?" My maiden name. Nobody had called me that in 12 years. I stared at his face, and suddenly I was 17 again, sitting in the back of a police cruiser, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. "Marcus?" I whispered. He nodded, and something painful flickered across his face. "It's been a long time." Amanda looked between us, clearly lost. "Marcus was the officer who found me," I said quietly. 15 years ago. When I ran away from my foster home. I didn't say the rest. That I'd been placed with a foster father who touched me in the night. That I'd reported it and nobody believed me. That I'd run away at 16, sleeping in bus stations and convenience store bathrooms. That Marcus had found me trying to shoplift bread from a grocery store, and instead of arresting me, he'd bought me dinner. The doorbell rang at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. You got me into a safe placement. I remember the time because I was pulling chocolate chip cookies every week for 2 years until I had 3 minutes left. My daughter Maya was doing homework at the kitchen table. You were one of the bravest kids I ever met. My son Lucas was building a Lego castle. I always wondered what happened to you. The house smelled like butter and sugar. I became a nurse in childhood. I got married. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door. I built a good gray pantsuit stood on my porch. "I can see that," he said. She had a badge clipped to her belt and a leather folder in her hands. At my healthy, loved children. Behind her stood a police officer in full uniform on the counter. My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step in the dark. Mrs. Reeves, I'm going to file a report stating that this complaint was unfounded. Her voice was likely malicious, carefully neutral. The evidence clearly shows your children are well nourished and properly cared for. My voice came out smaller than I intended. I'll be noting that the caller may have made a false report, which is a criminal offense. This is
Relief
Officer
flooded
Daniels.
through me so powerfully I
We
had to sit
received a
down.
report of concern regarding
However,
your children.
Amanda continued,
I
"May
need to
we
warn
come
you that
in?"
if Patricia Reeves made
The
this
world
report,
tilted
she may not
slightly.
stop here. CPS.
Document everything.
Someone had called
Keep
CPS
records of
on
all
me.
interactions.
My hands started
If she
trembling.
makes another
so I
false
gripped
report,
the doorframe
we'll
harder.
pursue charges.
Behind me,
Thank
Maya
you.
looked up
I
from her
breathed.
math worksheet. Thank you so
Her
much.
eyes went wide with that specific
After
childhood
Amanda
fear
left,
when adults
Marcus
start acting
lingered at the
strange.
door.
Of course,
Maya and
I
Lucas
whispered,
had returned to
stepping
their
aside.
activities, but they kept
They
glancing
walked into
over
my home like
nervously.
investigators at a crime
Can I
scene.
ask you something?
Amanda's eyes
Marcus
swept across
said
the living
quietly,
room, taking inventory.
Anything. Clean
How
carpet.
did you do it?
Toys organized
How did you build
in
this
bins.
after everything?
Family photos
I
on the
looked at my
walls.
children.
Lucas
At
froze
the home
mid-Lego
I'd fought
placement,
so hard to
staring
create.
at the strangers invading his
I
safe
decided
space.
I'd be the parent I never had.
Officer Daniels stayed near
I'd
the
give
door,
them the
his
safety I
expression
never felt.
unreadable. Every
He was
single
tall,
day, I
broad-shouldered,
choose them
with
first.
dark hair showing gray at the
Marcus's
temples.
expression softened.
Something about his face seemed
Your
familiar,
husband.
but my brain was too flooded
What was
with
he
panic
like?
to place it.
Kind.
Mrs. Reeves, we received
Gentle.
a report alleging that your children
He
are
saw
being
me for
denied
who I
adequate
was,
nutrition.
not what had
Amanda
happened to
said,
me.
pulling out a notepad.
He never made me feel
The
broken.
caller stated that your children appear
My throat
malnourished
tightened.
and that you've been observed withholding
Losing
food
him
as
almost
punishment.
destroyed me. My mouth
Patricia
went dry.
acts like I didn't love him,
That's
but he was my
insane.
entire world.
That's completely
And
insane.
now she's trying to take your kids.
Who said that?
She thinks they'd be
I
better
can't
off with her
disclose
money,
the caller's
her big
identity
house,
at this
her
time.
country club connections.
But I already knew.
She doesn't understand
There
that
was
kids
only
need
one
love
person
more than
who
country
hated me
clubs.
enough to do this.
Marcus pulled out
One
a business
person who
card
had been
and
waiting
wrote
for the
something on the
perfect
back.
opportunity to destroy me.
This is my personal
My
number.
mother-in-law, Patricia
If
Reeves.
Patricia escalates,
If
can
you
I
feel
see your
unsafe,
children?
you call me
please?
directly.
Amanda
Understood?
Maya,
I took
Lucas,
the card,
come
my
here,
hands still
sweethearts,
trembling.
I called, trying to keep
Why
my
are
voice
you helping
steady.
me?
My
Because
children
15
walked over
years ago,
slowly. I saw a terrified
Maya
kid
was
who'd been
10,
failed by
tall
every
for her
adult
age,
in her life,
with her father's
Marcus
dark
said.
curls and my green eyes.
And now I see a woman who
Lucas
turned that
was
pain
7,
into something
smaller and
beautiful,
quieter,
with freckles scattered
I'm not
across
letting
his
anyone
nose.
destroy that.
Both of them looked
After
healthy.
he left,
I locked the door
Their
and slid
cheeks
down
were
against
round.
it, finally letting
Their
myself
eyes
cry.
were bright.
Maya
They were
appeared
wearing
in front of
clean
me,
clothes
her
that
small
fit
face
properly.
worried. Amanda
Mom?
knelt down to their level.
Are you okay?
Hi there. I pulled both kids into
I'm
my
Ms.
arms,
Pierce.
holding them so tight they
I just want to
squirmed.
ask you some questions.
I'm okay,
okay,
baby. You're not
Everything's
in any trouble.
going to be okay.
Maya nodded,
But I knew
her
Patricia
hand found
wouldn't
mine
stop.
and squeezed tight. She had money,
When was the last
connections,
time you
and an
ate?
obsession with controlling what
Amanda
remained of her
asked
son's
gently.
legacy. We
This
had grilled
was just
cheese
the
and tomato
beginning.
soup for lunch
That
Lucas
night,
said.
after the kids were asleep,
and apple
I sat at my
slices.
kitchen table and made a list.
Mom always cuts them into
Every
rabbits.
interaction with Patricia over
Do you
the
get
past
enough
2
food
years.
at home? Every
Yes,
text message,
Maya said
every
firmly.
voicemail, every thread disguised
Mom makes
as
us
concern.
breakfast,
packs our lunches.
I printed
and
out
we have
emails.
family dinner every night. I charged my phone to
She's
make
a
sure
really
the
good
recordings
cook.
I'd started keeping were backed
Amanda
up. wrote notes. If she wanted a war,
Does your
I'd
mom
give her
ever not
one.
let you eat?
But this time,
As
I had
punishment,
something
maybe?
I'd never had before. Both kids shook their
I had
heads
Marcus
vigorously.
Daniels on my side.
Never, Maya
The
said.
next morning,
I woke to
That
17
would be
missed
mean.
calls from Patricia. I wanted to collapse
No
with relief,
voicemails.
but Officer Daniels
Just
was
the
staring
silent
at me
aggression
now.
of
repeated calls designed
Really
to
staring.
unsettle me. His
I blocked her
expression
number
had
and
shifted
got
from
the kids
neutral
ready
to
for
something
school.
else. At drop-off,
Recognition.
I noticed Patricia's silver
Miss
Mercedes
Pierce,
parked across
Officer
the street
Daniels
from the
said
elementary
suddenly,
school.
"May
May I speak with you privately
She was
for a
sitting in
moment?"
the driver's seat,
Amanda
watching.
looked surprised but
Just
nodded.
watching.
They stepped
My
into the
skin
hallway
crawled.
just outside my door.
I walked
speaking
Maya
in
and
low
Lucas
voice
to
as
their
I couldn't
classrooms,
hear, then went directly
Through
to
the
the principal's
window,
office.
I watched them.
Mrs. Chen,
Amanda's
come
posture
in, Principal
changed.
Anderson said. She looked confused.
He was a
then
kind
shocked,
man in his
then
50s
something
who'd
close
been
to supportive
angry.
after my husband died.
When they
came back inside,
I need to
Amanda's
update
entire
Maya and
demeanor
Lucas's
had shifted.
approved
Pickup list, I
said.
Mrs. Reeves, I apologize
Patricia
for the
Reeves is no
intrusion,
longer
she said
authorized to
carefully.
pick them up or sign them out
Based
for
on my
any
initial
reason.
assessment, your children
If she
appear
tries,
healthy
I
and
need
well
you to
cared
call the
for.
police immediately.
However, protocol
His
requires
expression
that I
grew
do a brief
serious.
home inspection and take some
Has something
photographs.
happened?
Is
I
that
explained the
acceptable?
CPS call.
Yes,
Of
his
course.
face darkened with anger.
Whatever you need.
That woman came to the
She
play
walked
last
through
week
the house
and tried to take
methodically.
Maya home with her. She opened the
Maya was
refrigerator,
crying,
which was fully
saying she
stocked
wanted
with
to
fresh
wait for you.
vegetables, milk, eggs,
I had to
chicken, and the
intervene.
leftover lasagna from Sunday.
She didn't tell me that.
She checked the pantry,
Maya
filled with
probably
pasta,
didn't
rice,
want to worry
canned
you.
goods, and snacks.
I found Maya in her
She
classroom
photographed
during morning
the kids'
reading
bedrooms,
time.
clean with made beds
I
and
pulled
shelves
her
of
into the
books.
hallway, kneeling to her
She
level.
looked in the bathroom cabinets.
Baby, did Grandma Patricia
Everything
try to
was in
take you
order.
home after the play?
Officer Daniels
Maya's
followed
eyes filled
silently,
with tears,
watching everything.
She said you were
That
too
look of
busy to pick me
recognition
up.
Hadn't left his face.
That she'd take me for ice
It was
cream.
making my skin prickle.
But I knew you were coming,
Mrs.
so
Reeves,
I said no.
can you tell me about your relationship
She got really
with your
mad.
extended family?
She said I was
Amanda
being brainwashed.
asked, returning to the living
Rage
room.
flooded through me,
I
hot and
swallowed
sharp.
hard.
Maya,
My husband
listen to
died
me.
2 years ago.
You did exactly
Car
the right
accident.
thing. You
His
never
mother,
have to go
Patricia,
anywhere with anyone
has never
if you
forgiven
don't want
me
to.
for it. Not
She
even
blames
Grandma.
me because I asked him to pick
Do
up
you
milk on his way
understand?
home that night.
She nodded,
She thinks if
wiping her
he'd driven
eyes.
straight home, he would
If
have
she
missed
ever
the drunk
approaches
driver.
you again, you scream.
My voice cracked.
You run to a teacher.
Maya's hand tightened around
You
mine
call
again.
me.
Patricia
Promise?
has been trying to get custody
I
of
promise,
my kids since
Mom.
the funeral, I continued.
I held her for a long moment,
She's wealthy.
feeling her heartbeat against mine.
She hired expensive lawyers.
Patricia wasn't just trying to take
She
my
told
kids.
the judge I was an unfit mother
She was
because
trying
I had
to
to go back to
manipulate
work.
them, turn them against me.
I'm a
make
nurse.
them doubt my love.
I work 3 12-hour
I drove to
shifts
work
a week
in a
so I
fog
can
of
be home
fury.
the other 4 days.
I was a pediatric
The judge
nurse
dismissed
at
her
County
case
General
6 months
working
ago.
the oncology ward.
And you believe Patricia
My
made
patients
this
were
report?
children fighting cancer.
I know she did.
Children whose parents
Last
would
week,
do anything
she came
to
to
save
Maya's
them.
school play.
And Patricia was
Afterward,
trying to rip my
she made a
healthy
huge
children
scene
away
because
because
I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
let
let
her
her
take
grief
the
and
kids for the
misplaced
weekend.
blame. My
She
shift was
screamed
that I was
brutal.
poisoning them against
We
her.
lost a patient, a
She
6-year-old
said I'd
girl
regret
named
keeping
Sophie
her
who'd been
grandchildren
fighting
from
leukemia
her.
for 3 years.
Amanda wrote quickly.
I held her mother while she sobbed.
Officer
and all I could
Daniels
think was
cleared
that
his
Patricia
throat.
had no idea how precious
Miss
and
Pierce,
fragile life
may I?
was.
Officer
She was wasting
Daniels
time on
gestured toward
revenge
me.
instead of love.
Amanda nodded.
During my
looking
break, I
increasingly
called the lawyer who'd
uncomfortable.
handled Patricia's custody case.
He stepped forward, and
Autumn,
suddenly
I
was
saw
hoping
it.
you'd call.
Attorney
The
Victoria
shape of his
Hayes
jaw
said.
The way
I
his
heard
left
about the
eyebrow had that
CPS
small
report.
scar cutting through it.
That crosses a line.
My breath caught.
What can I
Autumn,
do? He said softly.
Document everything.
Autumn Chin?
We may be able
My
to file
maiden
for a
name.
restraining order based on
Nobody
harassment.
had called me that in 12 years.
The false CPS report is
I stared
strong
at his
evidence.
face, and suddenly I was
If she
17
continues,
again,
we
sitting
can
in the
pursue
back of a
legal
police
action
cruiser,
for malicious
sobbing so hard I
prosecution.
couldn't breathe.
How much will that
Marcus?
cost?
Victoria
Victoria
was silent for a moment.
He nodded, and something
I'll
painful
do it pro
flickered
bono
across
if
his
it
face.
comes to that.
It's been a
What
long
Patricia
time.
is doing is
Amanda
unconscionable.
looked between us,
I've
clearly
seen
lost.
women lose their children to the system
Marcus
because
was the
of false
officer who found
reports.
me, I said quietly.
You are lucky the responding officer
15
was
years
thorough.
ago.
When I
thought
ran
about
away from my
Marcus.
foster home.
About that
I
moment
didn't
of
say the
recognition.
rest.
That
About
I'd
how
been placed
easily
with a
this could have
foster
gone
father who
differently if a
touched me in the
stranger had
night.
shown up instead.
That I'd reported it
Thank
and
you,
nobody believed me.
Victoria.
That I'd
Stay
run away
strong,
at 16,
Autumn.
sleeping in bus
We'll
stations and
fight this.
convenience store bathrooms. That Marcus had found me trying to shoplift bread from a grocery store, and instead of arresting me, he'd bought me dinner. That evening, I made the kids' favorite dinner, spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread. We ate together at the table, no phones, just conversation. Lucas told me about the butterfly that landed on his hand at recess. Maya showed me the gold star on her math test. These were the moments Patricia wanted to take from me. These small, ordinary, precious moments. After dinner, while the kids watched a movie, I checked my doorbell camera footage from earlier. Sure enough, at 3:15 p.m., Patricia had walked up to my porch and peered through the windows. She'd tried the door handle. Then she'd stood there for 5 full minutes, just staring at my home. I sent the footage to Victoria and Marcus. Marcus called immediately. "That's trespassing," he said. "I can have a patrol car swing by your house tonight if you'd like." Would that help? It would send a message that you're not unprotected. Yes, please. At 9 p.m., a patrol car parked in front of my house for an hour. I watched through the window as the officer walked the perimeter, checking doors and windows. It should have made me feel safer. Instead, it highlighted how vulnerable we were. The attacks became more subtle after that. Patricia stopped calling and showing up. Instead, she launched a social media campaign. She created a Facebook post claiming I was isolating her from her grandchildren. She shared old photos of my husband, writing captions like he would be heartbroken to see his children kept from family who loves them. Her friends flooded the comments with support. They called me selfish, vindictive, cruel. They didn't know the truth, didn't know about the custody battle or the CPS call or her showing up at the school. They just saw a grieving grandmother being denied access to her grandchildren. I didn't respond.
Victoria advised against engaging. Don't feed the narrative, she said. Let her look obsessive. Let people see the pattern. But it hurt. It hurt to be painted as the villain when I was just trying to protect my kids. Some of the comments came from people I'd known, people who'd been at my wedding, who'd brought casseroles after my husband died. Now they believed I was the monster. Maya found the Facebook post when she searched for her dad's name. She came to me crying, her phone clutched in her hand. Is it true? Does Grandma think you're keeping us from her? I sat Maya down on the couch, pulling Lucas over too. It was time for honesty, age-appropriate but honest. After Daddy died, Grandma was very sad, I began carefully. Sometimes when people are sad, they get angry too. Grandma got angry at me because she thought I should have protected Daddy better. She thought if I'd been a perfect wife, he wouldn't have been on that road that night. But it wasn't your fault, Lucas said. The other driver was drunk. The police said so. I know, buddy. But grief makes people think things that aren't true. Grandma loves you both very much, but right now her love is mixed up with anger and sadness. She's trying to take you away from me to live with her. Maya's eyes widened. We don't want to live with Grandma. We want to stay with you. I know. And I'm fighting to make sure we stay together. But Grandma is doing things that aren't okay. She lied to some people and said I wasn't feeding you properly. That's why those people came to our house. Both kids looked shocked. That's a really bad lie, Lucas whispered. Yes, it is. So right now, we need to be careful. If Grandma tries to talk to you at school or anywhere else, you come get me or a teacher immediately. Can you do that? They both nodded solemnly. 2 weeks passed in tense silence. Patricia didn't call, didn't show up, didn't post online. It felt like standing in the eye of a hurricane, knowing the other side was coming. Then I got a call from my supervisor at the hospital. Autumn, there's been a complaint filed against you, she said, her voice tight. My blood went cold. What kind of complaint? A patient's family member claims you were negligent in their child's care. They're alleging you missed symptoms of infection that led to complications. HR needs to investigate. Who filed it? She hesitated. The complaint came through the hospital's board. The family member is Patricia Reeves. She's on the hospital's donor advisory committee. I actually laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Of course she is. Which patient? That's the thing. There's no specific patient named. She's claiming general concerns about your competency and emotional stability. She referenced a recent CPS investigation. The investigation that found nothing wrong? That showed the report was false? I know, Autumn. I know. But the board takes these things seriously, especially when they come from major donors. You're being placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The room spun. She's taking my job. She's taking my ability to support my children. I called Marcus from the hospital parking lot, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. She got me suspended from work, I said when he answered. She filed a complaint with the hospital board. She's on their donor committee. She's using her money to destroy my career. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. That's retaliation. That's harassment. Autumn, I think it's time to escalate this. How? Let me make some calls. I have contacts in the district attorney's office. False CPS reports, harassment, stalking, defamation, this is building into a criminal case. Will they actually prosecute? She's wealthy. She has connections. So do I. Let me work on this. After we hung up, I sat in my car and cried. Not gentle tears, but the kind of sobbing that comes from your bones, from the deepest place of exhaustion and fear. I'd worked so hard to build this life. I'd pulled myself out of foster care, put myself through nursing school, created a stable home for my children. And Patricia was dismantling it piece by piece. That night, I couldn't hide my distress from the kids. Maya found me at the kitchen table, staring at bills I wasn't sure I could pay without my income. "Mom? You're scaring me." I pulled Maya into my lap, even though she was getting too big for it. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm just worried about adult things. Money things." "Is it because of Grandma?" I should have lied. I should have protected her from this. But I was too tired, too broken. "Yes. Grandma is trying to make it hard for me to work. She's telling lies about me to my boss." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that broke my heart. "I can get a job. I could babysit or walk dogs. I could help with money." "Oh, baby, no. That's not your job. You're 10 years old. Your job is to be a kid, to do your homework and play with your friends and be happy." "But I want to help. I don't want Grandma to win." I held her tighter. "She's not going to win. I promise you, she's not going to win." But I didn't know if that was true. Patricia had infinite resources. She had time and money and connections. I had a suspended job, dwindling savings, and 2 children depending on me to hold everything together. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Mrs. Reeves? This is Detective Carmen Rodriguez from the District Attorney's Office. Officer Marcus Daniels referred your case to me. Do you have time to talk?" I nearly collapsed with relief. "Yes. Yes, please. I've reviewed the documentation Officer Daniels provided. The false CPS report, the social media harassment, the employment interference, this isn't just a custody dispute anymore. This is systematic harassment with intent to cause harm. I'd like to meet with you and discuss pressing charges." We met that afternoon at a coffee shop. Detective Rodriguez was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She spread out papers across the table. "Patricia Reeves has a history," she said. 3 years ago, she filed a similar complaint against her daughter-in-law in Texas. That case was dismissed, but the pattern is there. She uses her wealth and influence to punish people she perceives as threats." Her daughter-in-law in Texas? Her other son's wife. Patricia accused her of parental alienation. The judge saw through it, but not before that woman spent thousands on legal fees and nearly lost custody. I felt sick. So this is her pattern. Yes. And that works in our favor. It shows malicious intent, not just grief. I'm recommending we pursue criminal harassment charges and a permanent restraining order. What will that mean for Patricia? Detective Rodriguez leaned back. If convicted, she could face fines, mandatory counseling, and a criminal record. The restraining order would legally prohibit her from contacting you or your children. She'll fight it. She has expensive lawyers. Let her fight. We have evidence, we have pattern behavior, and we have witnesses. Officer Daniels is willing to testify. Your hospital supervisor documented the complaint timeline. We have your doorbell footage. This is a strong case. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope stirring. How long will this take? Could be months. But in the meantime, we can file for an emergency restraining order. That goes into effect immediately while the criminal case proceeds. Do it. Please, do it. That evening, I called Marcus to thank him. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to get involved. Autumn, 15 years ago, I found a kid who'd been failed by everyone. I got her into a safe home, but then I lost track of her. I always wondered if I'd done enough. And then you opened that door with your healthy kids and your clean home and your homemade cookies, and I realized you didn't just survive. You thrived. I'm not letting anyone take that from you. The emergency restraining order was granted 48 hours later. A sheriff's deputy served Patricia at her home. According to the deputy's report, she screamed that I was turning the law against her, that I'd brainwashed everyone, that her son would be ashamed of me. The deputy noted her behavior as erratic and aggressive. For 3 days, there was silence. Blessed, beautiful silence. I returned to work after HR completed their investigation and found no merit to Patricia's complaint. My supervisor apologized profusely. I had no choice but to take the complaint seriously, she said. But I never believed it for a second. You're one of our best nurses. The kids relaxed. Maya's nightmares stopped. Lucas started smiling again. We went to the park, to the movies, to the library. We lived without looking over our shoulders. Then, on a Saturday morning, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera and saw Marcus standing on my porch, but his expression was grim. "What's wrong?" I asked, opening the door. Patricia violated the restraining order. She went to Lucas's soccer game this morning. My blood ran cold. The kids are at soccer right now. I'm about to leave to pick them up. I know. That's why I'm here. Let's go together. We drove to the soccer fields in Marcus's patrol car. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might be sick. When we arrived, I saw Patricia standing at the edge of the field, watching Lucas play. She was holding a sign that said, "I love you, Lucas." Marcus approached her, his hand resting on his belt near his radio. "Mrs. Reeves, you're in violation of a restraining order. You need to leave immediately." Patricia turned, and her face was a mask of cold fury. "I have a right to watch my grandson play soccer. This is a public park. You have a legal order prohibiting you from being within 500 feet of these children. This field is currently a violation. If you don't leave now, I'm placing you under arrest. You can't do this. I'm a respected member of this community. I donate to the Police Benevolent Fund. Then you should understand the importance of following the law. Last warning, Mrs. Reeves." She looked past Marcus to me, her eyes blazing with hatred. "You did this. You poisoned my son against me when he was alive, and now you're poisoning his children. They'll hate you one day. They'll realize what you took from them." "Ma'am, turn around and place your hands behind your back," Marcus said, pulling out handcuffs. Patricia's face went white. "You're arresting me?" "Yes, ma'am. For violation of a restraining order." The other soccer parents had stopped to watch. Lucas stood frozen on the field, staring at his grandmother being handcuffed. Maya ran over from the playground, her face pale with shock. Marcus was gentle but firm as he guided Patricia to his patrol car. She was crying now, loud, ugly sobs. "Please, I just wanted to see them. I miss them so much. They're all I have left of my son." Something in her voice cracked my heart, just a little. Because underneath the manipulation and the cruelty, there was real grief. Real loss. She'd lost her son, and she genuinely believed I was stealing what remained of him. But that didn't excuse what she'd done. It didn't erase the fear she'd caused my children or the damage to our lives. Detective Rodriguez arrived 20 minutes later to process the arrest. She pulled me aside while Patricia sat in the back of the patrol car. "This strengthens our case significantly," she said. "Violating the restraining order shows she won't stop voluntarily. The judge will take this seriously." "What happens now?" "She'll be arraigned on Monday. I'll push for bail conditions that include psychiatric evaluation. She needs help, Autumn. This isn't normal grief." That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on my back porch and called my husband's number. It was disconnected, of course. Had been for 2 years. But sometimes I just needed to hear the recording of his voice saying, "You've reached Thomas Reeves. Leave a message." "I miss you," I whispered after the beep. "Your mom is falling apart. The kids miss you. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, protecting them from her. She's their grandmother. But she's also hurting them. I don't know what you'd want me to do." The night air was cool. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. Life was continuing, ordinary and strange, while my world kept tilting. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "How are you holding up?" "Honestly? I don't know. You're doing the right thing. Kids need safety more than they need grandparents who scare them." "Did she make bail?" "Yes. But with conditions. She can't leave the county, and she has to start counseling immediately." The judge wasn't gentle. I closed my eyes. "Thank you, Marcus. For everything. I don't know how to repay you." "You already did. 15 years ago, you taught me why this job matters. Every time I pulled you out of a bad situation, you fought to be better. You didn't let the system break you. That's all the payment I need." 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom watching Patricia plead no contest to criminal harassment charges. She'd aged dramatically. Her hair was grayer, her face lined with new wrinkles. Her lawyer had negotiated a deal: 2 years probation, mandatory therapy, 500 hours of community service, and a permanent restraining order. She'd never be allowed near my children again unless I specifically invited her, which required court approval. The judge looked at her sternly. "Mrs. Reeves, grief is not an excuse for cruelty. Your actions endangered children, wasted state resources, and caused significant harm to an innocent woman. I hope you use this probation period to address the underlying issues that led to this behavior." Patricia nodded, crying quietly. For a moment, our eyes met across the courtroom. I didn't see hatred anymore. Just emptiness. Just a woman who'd lost everything, including herself. Outside the courthouse, Marcus waited with Maya and Lucas. They ran to me, and I scooped them both up even though they were getting too big for it. "Is it over?" Maya asked. "It's over, baby." Detective Rodriguez approached, shaking my hand firmly. "You were incredibly brave throughout this. I hope you and your children can move forward now." As we walked to the car, Lucas slipped his hand into mine. "Mom?" "Officer Marcus said we could visit the police station." "Can we?" I looked at Marcus, who shrugged with a smile. "Thought they might like to see where heroes work." And as we drove away from that courthouse, away from Patricia and the pain and the fear, I realized something important. I'd spent 15 years running from my past, terrified it would catch up and destroy the life I'd built. But when it mattered most, my past had saved me. The scared 16-year-old girl and the kind officer who'd helped her had come full circle. Some stories don't end. They just find new ways to save you.